Imagine a country finally free after years of brutal occupation, only to turn on itself in one of the most tragic conflicts of the 20th century. This is the story of the Greek Civil War, the conflict where the embers of World War II ignited the flames of the Cold War. Let's rewind to 1944. Greece is emerging from the dark shadow of Nazi occupation. During the war, resistance movements sprang up across the rugged mountains and ancient valleys. The most powerful of these was the National Liberation Front, or EAMELAS, a coalition dominated by the Greek Communist Party. On the other side were various royalist groups and the Greek government in exile, which had the firm backing of Great Britain, led by Winston Churchill, who was determined to keep Greece in the Western sphere of influence and restore its monarchy. As the last German soldiers withdrew in October 1944, a power vacuum was created. It wasn't a time for celebration, but for confrontation. The rival Greek factions, once united against a common enemy, now saw each other as the primary obstacle to shaping the nation's future. Who would rule post-war Greece? The communists of EALAS, who controlled most of the countryside, or the returning government in exile backed by British might. The tension exploded in Athens in December 1944, an event known as the Decembriana. Clashes between communist demonstrators and police, supported by British troops, escalated into a month-long battle for control of the capital. The British, fearing a communist takeover, intervened decisively. Tanks rolled through the streets of Athens, and British soldiers fought a bitter street-by-street battle against the EALAS fighters. The communists were eventually defeated and forced to disarm under the Treaty of Varkisa in early 1945. But this was not peace. It was merely a ceasefire. The agreement was deeply flawed, and a period of white terror followed, where right-wing paramilitaries hunted down former resistance members, creating an atmosphere of fear and revenge that made reconciliation impossible. The seeds of civil war were sown. By 1946, the fragile truce shattered completely. Open warfare erupted across Greece. On one side stood the newly formed Democratic Army of Greece, or DSE, the military wing of the Communist Party. They were seasoned guerrilla fighters, operating from mountain strongholds and aiming to establish a socialist republic. Initially, they received crucial support from Greece's northern neighbors, Yugoslavia, Albania, and Bulgaria, all newly minted communist states. These countries provided sanctuary, supplies, and a safe haven for the DSE's forces. On the other side was the official Greek National Army, representing the royalist government in Athens. This army was initially weak, demoralized, and poorly equipped after years of war and occupation. Their primary backer was Great Britain, which provided military advisors, funding, and equipment. For the British, Greece was a critical strategic foothold in the Mediterranean, a domino that could not be allowed to fall to communism. The battle lines were drawn not just across Greek mountains, but between two opposing worldviews, a communist East and a capitalist West. The fight for Greece's soul had begun, and it would be a brutal, unforgiving struggle, pitting villager against villager and brother against brother. As the war raged on, Britain found itself exhausted and financially crippled by its efforts in World War II. By early 1947, the British government informed the United States that it could no longer afford to prop up the Greek government. The responsibility, they declared, was now America's. This was a pivotal moment, not just for Greece, but for the entire world. The United States, under President Harry Truman, saw the situation in Greece as a dire threat. They feared that if Greece fell to communism, Turkey would be next, and the entire eastern Mediterranean would fall under Soviet influence. This was the birth of the domino theory. In response, on March 12, 1947, Truman went before the U.S. Congress and delivered a historic speech. He announced what would become known as the Truman Doctrine. He declared that the United States would support free peoples who are resisting attempted subjugation by armed minorities or by outside pressures. This wasn't just a policy. It was a global declaration of intent. Greece became the first major testing ground for this new American strategy of containment. The floodgates opened. Massive amounts of U.S. aid began pouring into Greece. This wasn't just economic support under the famous Marshall Plan, which helped rebuild the shattered Greek economy. It was also extensive military aid. Aircraft, napalm, artillery, and crucially, American military advisors who would help train and reorganize the Greek National Army. The Greek Civil War was no longer just a local conflict. It had officially become the first major proxy war of the Cold War, a battleground where the two new superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, would clash through their respective allies. The fate of Greece was now tied to the global struggle for supremacy. With the full weight of American support behind them, the tide of the war began to turn decisively in favor of the government forces. The Greek National Army, once disorganized, was transformed into a more professional and formidable fighting force. U.S. advisors helped implement new strategies, and the constant flow of advanced weaponry, particularly air power, gave them a huge advantage over the DSE guerrillas. Government planes could now bomb and strafe communist positions in the mountains with devastating effect, disrupting their supply lines and morale. But perhaps the most critical blow to the communist cause came not from the battlefield, but from international politics. In 1948, a major ideological split occurred within the communist world. Yugoslavia's leader, Marshal Tito, broke away from the Soviet Union's control under Joseph Stalin. This Tito-Stalin split had catastrophic consequences for the Greek communists. Yugoslavia had been their most important lifeline, providing the main route for supplies and a safe rear base. In July 1949, Tito, seeking better relations with the West, sealed his border with Greece, effectively cutting off the DSE's primary artery of support. Trapped, outnumbered, and outgunned, the DSE made a final desperate stand. They abandoned guerrilla tactics and tried to fight a conventional war against the National Army. This proved to be a fatal mistake. In the summer of 1949, the Greek army launched a massive final offensive, codenamed Operation Pyrsos, or Torch. They cornered the last major DSE forces in their mountain strongholds of Gramos and Vitsi in northern Greece. After weeks of intense and bloody fighting, the government forces, backed by overwhelming air power, crushed the remaining resistance. The war was over. The defeated DSE fighters and thousands of their civilian sympathizers fled across the border into Albania and other Eastern Bloc countries, beginning a long and painful exile. The Greek Civil War left behind a legacy of utter devastation. The human cost was staggering. An estimated 100,000 people were killed, and around 700,000 were internally displaced or became refugees. The country's infrastructure, already ruined by World War II, was shattered once again. The economic and social scars would take decades to heal. Politically, the outcome was decisive. Greece was firmly anchored in the Western camp. In 1952, it joined NATO, becoming a key strategic outpost for the alliance on its southeastern flank. Domestically, the victory of the government led to a period of intense anti-communism. The Communist Party was outlawed, and suspected leftists faced persecution, imprisonment, and exile for decades. This created a deeply polarized and fractured political landscape that would not begin to heal until the fall of the military junta in 1974. But the war's significance stretched far beyond Greece's borders. It was a blueprint for the Cold War. It established the pattern of proxy conflicts, where superpowers would fight each other indirectly on the soil of other nations. The Truman Doctrine, tested and proven successful in Greece, became the cornerstone of American foreign policy for the next 40 years, leading to interventions in Korea, Vietnam, and across the globe. In essence, the Greek Civil War was the tragic opening act of a new global drama. It was a conflict born from the ashes of one world war that drew the battle lines for the next, a long, tense ideological struggle we now call the Cold War. It was a nation's internal tragedy that became a symbol for a newly divided world. Thank you so much for watching. The history of this period is complex and deeply personal for many, and it serves as a powerful reminder of how civil conflicts can be shaped and intensified by outside forces. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button and consider subscribing for more deep dives into history. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.